Hey guys, so today what we're going to do is we're going to replace the check valves on a Kranzle 1622 pressure washer, and there's 6 of them here. So you get a kit of 6. This is the kit that it comes with. The part number is 41-41.648, and you can order it from Clean Garage, Obsessed Garage. You can order it through Kranzle themselves, but there's 6 of them. And there's 12 O-rings, and the 12 O-rings, the reason why there's 12 O-rings is because you have one that the check valve seats on, and then there's one for the valve cover, the check valve cover, okay, which is this nut here, this cap. And there's 6 of them here. So there's 3 on the bottom end of the Kranzle. Those are the low pressure check valves, and then up here are the 3 high pressure check valves, right? One's actually underneath the pressure gauge. So we're gonna have to remove the pressure gauge, and then using a 22 millimeter remove the cap for that check valve. So this is a fairly straightforward project, very easy to do. Just got to be patient. You're gonna need just a slight bit of Vaseline to kind of like seat the rubber seal so it doesn't move anywhere, and it kind of gives it a little lubrication. Let's get right to it. First thing you want to do is use a 14 millimeter open socket wrench to remove the pressure gauge. All right, once it's cracked loose, you can remove it by hand. And every time you do this, you're probably going to have to replace the Teflon tape that's on it. It gets lost. You see it here. It's basically gone. And then check the gauge while you're at it too. Just make sure that it's not bent, that it's not leaking, that it has glycerin in it, instrument glycerin, right? And you can tell because there's a bubble up top here, and when you move it, you can see the bubble. All right, so first things first. So, and you can use an impact wrench like this, you know, the DeWalt, to remove the caps. I wouldn't suggest using it to install it because you can risk, you know, cross-threading the threads, but definitely for removal you can. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. So we'll start with these down here. Now these are the original ones, and this unit right here in particular is quite a few years old. I think this one's a 2015, so it's quite a few years old. Not as old as I thought it was, actually, considering the condition that it was in. I had removed the entire assembly. I replaced the seals on it, so that's all brand new, working. I actually rebuilt this entire cap piece here. So I reinforced it, checked the microfarads on the capacitor, and everything was perfect. It was at 80 microfarads. So yeah. And these in here, try to bring this a little bit closer. All right, you just pull these out. You might need a needle nose plier, but you can see the condition that these are in. They're rusty, corroded, you know, and they may still work, to be quite honest. You know, like basically it's just, you could see right here, that's the check valve inside, right? So nothing can flow this way, right? Back into the line, to the system, but it can flow inward this way, right? So hopefully you can see that, right? So that's the check valve. Now what can happen, and how do you know if the check valve is damaged? Well, number one, you could lose pressure. Number two, you get like a juddering effect, right? So like when you're using the pressure washer and it kind of judders, like, can I do that again? But You'll notice it when you're actually using the pressure washer. It kind of stutters when you're using the pressure washer, and that's typically because this is not seating correctly. There's dirt, debris, maybe the spring is not working correctly. But anyway, that's how you figure it out. And they're all pretty old. They're old. They're in poor condition. So it makes sense to put some nice, fresh new ones. I forgot how much I paid for these. But I'll put all the links for all of these parts down below, so you can take a look at it and you can order them yourselves. And I'm always impressed with the Kranzles and like how rebuildable they are. It really is quite impressive. So if you see one that's old, don't be afraid. Don't think that it's just trash, right? I mean, if it's a Home Depot Ryobi or something like that, then maybe, yeah, it's trash because you can't really rebuild those at all. All right, so this is a 22 millimeter, I believe. Yeah, 22 millimeter. I'm gonna crack that open. Actually, you know what? Let's use the impact wrench. Just inspect everything as you go. Okay. Now inside each one of these, where this seats, you can see how it's kind of like recessed a little bit right there. There's a rubber seal that this seats on, okay, to keep it watertight. So that's still in here. So you're gonna need one of these picks, okay, to be able to dig them out. Just be careful that you don't score anything, but that's what we're taking out. Okay. Rubber seals, old ones, and just take them out. Pretty straightforward. Oops. And again, I said there's 12 seals. One where it seats and one for this cap right here. You can see the rubber seal right there. All right, so we're gonna be replacing all those. And you can check to see if there's any debris inside of these or anything like that. Maybe even clean them out a little bit with a rag. But they look pretty clean, which is good. Just double check, and always double check to make sure. I think that one came out originally. Okay. And you can see inside of here. I don't know if you can catch that on the camera. Right? The brass seat that the rubber seal sits on, and the check valve seats onto that. All right, so let's just count them to make sure that we got them all. I mean, there could have been one missing, to be quite honest. I mean, that is a possibility. Maybe that's why this one wasn't working really that great. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. It looks like one of them was missing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use a rag and a little screwdriver to kind of like clean the inside of it out. That small screwdriver. So what I do is I take a rag, kind of double it up, and use the end of the screwdriver to kind of get inside and just wipe it back and forth, all right? You're kind of removing the water, the residual water that's in there, and then you're actually cleaning off the bottom of the seat. See how dirty that is? And that's just over years of use and neglect, you know, or checking the strainer, I should say. seems okay. So let's check it again. Do it a couple times. Check it again. It's clean. All right. And I don't know if, you know, now I'm like really starting to second guess if there was a seal there or not. But anyway, I only see 5. That's really interesting, you know, because I know that this unit worked and I didn't have that many issues with it, but I do remember it stuttering at one point. Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, that's it. So anyway, so another good reason to kind of check and make sure that everything is there. All right, good. So first things first, we want to take this kit. We want to start laying this out and installing the check valves. So you have a baggie with all of the O-rings. And all 6 check valves are brand new. And they changed the color, I guess, maybe to kind of identify and just, you know, make sure you know what the difference is. Old ones are green, new ones are red. So there's no confusion whatsoever. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the O-rings, just lay them out on a clean surface. And we're gonna use a little bit of Vaseline just to kind of lubricate it and then seat it. So you're gonna just drop it and then use your your pinky finger to kind of seat it and make sure that it's straight. Right. Same thing with the second one. Same thing for the third. And you'll know if it's seated correctly. It needs to be straight and it's at the bottom of that cylindrical shaft right there. All right, and that's good. And then these just simply just drop into place, right? And you'll hear it seat at the bottom. Okay, perfect. All right. Now we're gonna do the same thing on these 3 right here. And we're gonna lift this up a little bit so that they can seat down at the bottom. 1, 2. With these, you're gonna have to use a flashlight to kind of just double check and make sure they're seated perfectly. Okay. We're going to seat these same way. 1, 2, 3. All right. Slowly drop this. And then now all of the new check valves are in place. Now what we want to do is we want to start replacing the seals on these caps. So first thing you want to do is you want to remove, just gently remove the old O-ring and dispose of that. Make sure that that's out of the way. Put a little bit of Vaseline on it and replace it with the new one. And it seats, there's like a little groove right here that it seats in. All right, you can't mistake it. All right. Now, sometimes what you can do is you can just basically take a wire wheel and clean the ends off. I'm not going to do it in this case. And you basically start threading them in. And do the same thing for all of these. It's a 13 millimeter, just by the way. And this doesn't have to be crazy tight, guys, because it's got the O-ring to seal it. So as long as it's seated, the O-ring does the rest. All right, so the 3 low pressure check valves are in. Now we're gonna start working on the top ones, and you're gonna put it back in reverse order, right? So don't put this one, the center one, back. That's meant for the pressure gauge. Don't put that one on first, because then you won't have room to install the other ones. Just make sure it's perfectly seated. Start threading it on. All right, those 2 are in place. And the last one is the one for the pressure gauge. Same process. All right, so all check valves are in. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna reinstall the pressure gauge. Put a little Teflon tape on the end of it, so there's absolutely no leaking. Slowly thread it back in. And then you're going to use your 14 millimeter to get it straight on. This does actually seat onto a brass ring, and that can be replaced, but you don't necessarily have to, unless it's really badly leaking. But in most cases, you're rarely like removing this, so it shouldn't be that problematic. Just go until it's just seated, and then a quarter turn to kind of really set everything into place. It might not line up perfectly because it's been removed and replaced, but that's it. That's the process. Pretty straightforward. Replacing all 3 or all 6 check valves and 12 O-rings. We were missing one. Go figure. All right, so we're gonna take this out. We're gonna test it. We'll put a quick connect on here. We're gonna hook it up to the hose, see how it works. See you in a bit.